It's FNL Lacrosse presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks, week number 3 here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. Nick and Astis, Coach Chris Cameron with you, and what a second week we just had here on these airwaves. We're going to recap games, we're going to give you scores, we're going to go over the upcoming schedule, and we're also going to speak with 5 different players/coaches over the next 60 minutes. We'll start it off at about 6:20 Eastern with Cameron Schmidt, BG senior midfielder, on her way to Bucknell. The Cardinals off to an early start, as we know, and on that short list of contenders again in Division One. Then it's 6:35. I believe a first. It could be a first on this show. We're gonna have 3 players all on at the same time. All outstanding Exeter seniors. Ethan Burnich, the goaltender, on his way to RIT. Owen Williams will play for Jacksonville next year. And Tanner Smith, one of their standout defenders, on his way to St. Anselm. So bottom of the hour, 3 Exeter Bluehawks joining us here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. And then at 6:45, Drew Bordeau, the Bedford head coach, now in his second season, a St. A's alum, is going to join us. But of course, the headline will begin with what we saw last night down in Nashua, a highly anticipated matchup between Bishop Girton and Bedford. And Coach, after your team built up a pretty sizable lead in that first half, Bedford kept coming, and then ultimately forced not one but 2 overtimes before your outstanding senior Caleb Young came up with the game winner and preserve your unbeaten streak against in-state opponents at now 5 years. Coach, obviously it's been a busy week. We'll talk about Staples as well, but where do you want to begin? What was your takeaway with your team over the weekend with 2 epic battles against Staples and Bedford?
Yeah, so I mean, it's fun. I mean, a lot of fun playing high-level lacrosse. Staples was a game where we played very well. We played very well to hold them to 9 goals, to be man up with a chance to tie it. And we had a few shots at it and just didn't get it done. You know, our emphasis has been on making winning plays, and we didn't make those winning plays against St. John's Prep, where we were up by a goal in the fourth quarter. We were up for most of the game against Staples and just didn't make those. But last night against Bedford, we made winning plays, and there were 3 of them. Will Murphy made some big saves with Derek Kaliza, who's one of the best shooters, not just in New Hampshire, but in New England. Will Murphy, made some big saves on him. Paulo Vasquez winning the 2 overtime faceoffs, and then Caleb Young eventually getting the winner. So those were the key plays, and at one point, like, we had been very, very good, very sound. We have a great defensive coach in Luke Soames, and we were really, really locked in those first 2 games. And then we were just a little bit disorganized from a team standpoint. And then you throw in the Brody Helton and Bennett Matthews matchups, and we were struggling a little bit. So, but then we settled in, and then I looked at the scoreboard. We went on a run where I'm like, oh, man, we're going to hit 20 tonight, because we had been struggling to score. Yeah, it was what we were looking for, was those transition goals, and then all of a sudden we couldn't get transition going, and we lost our composure at times in the clearing game, and that was key. We gave them, Drew did a great job adjusting to the faceoffs. Dylan Reach, it's a big ask for him to go against Paulo. Paulo Vasquez is not just the number 1 guy in New Hampshire. He's a top 10 faceoff guy in the country in the 25 class. So to have a freshman going against him, he went 2 for 10, but then Drew made the adjustment to stop that run. They threw poles at him. And they threw not just poles. I think Kevin Sheridan was the defensive, Gatorade Player of the Year in football. Tristan Kerr's going D1, and they threw Brody Helton at him. So they were throwing everything at him, and it worked for like 4 out of 5 faceoffs. So then Paulo, got used to that and started and dominated and won the 2 big ones in overtime. So that was key. I think that, and then Bedford played a little harder. They played harder. The ground ball battle, I think, was 25-22 BG's edge, but a lot of that was the faceoffs, because Paulo went 75%. He won 21 out of 28. So if you take those off, then Bedford's at like 18 ground balls, and we're we're at like 5 or 7. So they won the ground ball battle outside the faceoffs, and that was key. That gave them a lot of possessions, and Drew is we communicated last night. It was a great game, and it was two teams that I hope to see them again in June. We got to get there first because there's some good teams out there. I just watched Exeter play Portsmouth, and wow, what a game that was. Exeter is very good, and we have those 3 seniors coming on at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, let's stay there, Coach. What'd you see? That was an 11-7
Okay.
final score. Portsmouth, they get another win, and Exeter, they get their first loss after that 5-0 start. What'd you see today?
Yeah, so Exeter is rock solid on defense. I mean, led by Tanner Smith and Ethan Burnage. Ethan Burnage and Will Murphy are the two best goalies around. And it was 5-2 late, maybe like 15 seconds to go in the half, and Nick Smith popped it forward, got a goal, make it 5-3, and then he popped it again, and they almost got it to 5-4, but then Exeter came out, went up 6-3. Portsmouth went on a 8-1 run to end the game. It just seemed like they had the ball all game long. Nick Smith was winning faceoffs. It wasn't a 90-10, but it was probably like a 70-30. Will McElroy battled. He gave them some possessions, but that was key. And then just the toughness and the athleticism. Macy Schoen was just making play. He's a man up guy. He was making plays all over the field, and it wasn't just Zach Amen, who's a great player. Scoop Purcell, Ben Purcell had three goals in a row, like bing, bing, bing. Those were the things that stood out, was that Portsmouth's legit. I mean, that's, and so is Derryfield. I mean, those are 2 teams that we've mentioned before, are top 5 in Division I, and they proved it today. But 2 teams that are very, very good. It was. I watched it. I watched the game, and it was a high level game. And so it's not like Exeter's not good. Portsmouth's just very, very good, and you could see for them that was a huge game.
It was a close game last year. It was a game the Blue Hawks squeaked by, I believe, by a 1-goal deficit, and Portsmouth again coming away with a win today, 11-7. Coach, we're going to talk a little bit at some point, I think, about Londonderry and Pinkerton. That's our next broadcast. It comes your way Wednesday at 6 o'clock from Lancer Park. Include those 2 teams, but shape up the rest of D1 now, 2.5 weeks into the season?
Yeah, I think you have 3 teams at the top, like we talked about, BG, Bedford, and Exeter. And then you have Pinkerton, who's going to get better. They're just not as physical as a Bedford right now, but they have some skilled guys. They have a goalie who's a freshman, Owen Perkins, who's playing great in there. And they're very good on defense. I really have not seen Londonderry at all. I know they beat Framingham, which was a good out-of-state win. They lost to Central Catholic by a goal, so they're getting better. They lost 15-5 to Exeter, so they're in that next tier. But I can see those teams. It's a rivalry. I see that being a very good matchup with a slight advantage to Pinkerton.
How about that middle class
then it's a drop
of Division One?
Yeah.
Give me that next tier, that middle class. Dover has done some good things. Merrimack has piled up a few wins. The Manchester Kings have won 2 games. So what's going on underneath that top 5, so to speak, in D1?
I would say there's a lot of parity between those 7 teams. I think they're all North, and the Manchester Kings played before us, and North won 7-4. But last week, the Kings beat North. So you have some tight games between North, South, the Kings. Concord and Merrimack played an overtime game. Merrimack just won another 1-goal game. So you have, and then Salem is right in the mix. So you have, and then Dover. So I think they're all, if anything, I don't know. They're all 7 of those teams can beat each other, but they're going to be fighting for that 7th, 8th spot. Is that right? The 6, 7, 8 spot out of those teams. However, it gets skewed in the way the NHI does it, is because, like last year, Merrimack was a 4 seed. I think they were a 4 seed, because we played them in the semis, and Bedford was a 5 seed. Or maybe it was maybe one was a 4, one was a 5, because they don't play a tough schedule, as tough a schedule as some of the other teams, where they might play North twice or South twice or Concord twice. So you don't know how those playoffs are going to be because the scheduling is not uniform throughout the whole division. So
Right.
you don't know, but those 7 teams are going to be fighting for those 3 spots, and I think Londonderry and Pinkerton are safe in that 4 or 5. And I was also looking at Bedford. Looks to me like they're going to be the 1 seed. I don't see them having more than 1 or 2 losses the rest of the season. I mean, they have to play Pinkerton again. They play Exeter. Their out-of-state schedule is not. They play Westford, who's not really strong, but they're going to probably be the 1 seed. We still have BC High, we have Xaverian, we have Acton, Boxborough, and Hingham. 4 of the top, I think those 4 are in the top 10, and so we could be looking at a few more losses. We play Exeter twice, we play Pinkerton. So I think, it could be, we could be looking at Exeter in that 2-3, but Bedford right now is in the driver's seat for that 1 seed.
We'll speak with Drew Bordeau coming up at 6:45, the second-year Bedford head coach. Always a fun interview. And, of course, we'll get to the 3 Exeter stars as well at the bottom of the hour: Ethan Burnich, Owen Williams, and Tanner Smith. Switching gears for a moment, Coach. On the girls' side, we'll start in Division 1. Seems like Bishop Girton will ask Cameron Schmidt coming up momentarily. We'll ask her thoughts, but seems like they rebounded pretty well after that heartbreaking loss out on the seacoast. And then, of course, Bedford, they just keep winning. We talked a little bit about their start last week with Olivia Matthews, their star senior. But give me your take. I saw Souhegan hung tough with Pinkerton, which is a good sign for that young Sabres team.
And Souhegan knocked off Portsmouth today.
Wow, that's breaking news.
Yeah. So
okay,
what you're
so
seeing
there you
in
go.
division.
So how good is Souhegan? That begs the question.
So BG handled Souhegan pretty easily, but they're a younger team and they're very well coached. They're going to get better. I didn't know they were going to get better that quickly. So what you're seeing is parity there. You're seeing Portsmouth, Portsmouth, Pinkerton, BG, Bedford, Souhegan. That the parity that what used to be there probably, the mid, what do you call it, the mid-teens, like 2012 through 18.
Yeah, Souhegan traditionally has been competitive.
Oh yeah. So you have those, and then Londonderry and Exeter are not too far behind. So you're seeing some really good girls lacrosse in Division 1 right there, where it's going to be a battle for who makes that Final Four. It could be any of those teams. And you said, is the broadcast next Wednesday? Is the Bedford BG game?
That game is 2 weeks from today.
8th. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
8th.
Yeah. So 2 weeks. That'll be a very good game. Yeah. BG ran into a buzzsaw yesterday. They played Notre Dame of Hingham, and I think they lost 13-2. So that they were down 10-1, and Coach Cali made some adjustments, and they wound up losing 13-2. So those are the games that you gotta get better from them. You can't hang your head because they're just a really deep, talented team down there in Massachusetts. So those are the ones that you learn a lot about yourselves and what kind of adjustments you have to do going forward. But any of those 4 or 5 teams in girls Division 1 can win, can beat each other.
And how's D2 looking now 3 weeks in? We've seen Wyndham has gotten off to a good start. There's some other teams assess it 3 weeks in Division 2.
Yeah, so there's there's a big delta between Division 1 and Division 2. When you look at BG, I don't have the exact score, but I think they beat Winnicott at 16-2. So there's a big drop from Division 1 to Division 2. But like Division 1, you have some parity. You have Winnicott, you have Wyndham, you have Goffstown. I'm probably missing a few, but you have Hollis Brookline. So you have there's a lot of depth in that division, but those are the top teams right there.
All right, let's bring in our first guest.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach. We'll wait.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for Cam.
Okay, you're ready now. Let's bring her in. Cameron Schmidt, BG senior midfielder, on her way to Bucknell, joining us live right now. How are you, Cameron?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the start. you guys had a couple of tough losses. Coach said it was a little bit of a lopsided affair in Massachusetts, but that's one of the better teams in New England, frankly. In your assessment, a player's assessment, how has the season started off here about 3 weeks in?
Yeah, so I think that we've done good adjusting in all of our games for the season. We're taking our wins and losses and we're using all of them to help us be better and be our best for playoffs. So games like the Notre Dame game, we obviously had to make a lot of adjustments. And when we did that in the second half, we only held them to 2 goals. So yeah, just using those games to really help us to be our best for playoffs.
Mm. And that seems like that's a year in and year out case where you guys take some of those out of state opponents and load up the schedule similar to the boys side. How you like playing for Coach Callie, now in the driver's seat as the head coach? She's been in the program before, and of course, former head coach Leslie Y is still a part of the staff as well. How has that transition gone?
Yeah, I love playing for Coach Callie. She has a lot of knowledge for the game, so it's really great to have her. But also having Coach Leslie and Coach Jamie there to teach us is really helpful. The dynamic is great because all three coaches bring something different to the table. So every practice, we always have something new, and we're really learning how to grow. So
Yeah. What do you guys do um, for fun, so to speak, in practice? I know Coach Y had a history of keeping it serious, but alleviating some of that with some activities. Is that the same kind of approach here we've seen from Coach Callie?
yeah, kind of, but we all are still serious and we want to win. But kind of off the field, we do like pasta parties, we hang out. I know that I had one on Monday before the Notre Dame game. I had the team over and we had a bonfire. We just hung out, and we also had a
Nice.
media day last week. So just hanging out with the team to build that chemistry off the field is really important for us.
A media day, so you're all prepped and ready to go for tonight, then, huh?
Yes.
You couldn't tell, Nick? Cam, thanks
Clearly.
for coming on. So Cam is the middle child. She has Evan, her older brother's playing in college, and then Hudson, who's a sophomore midfielder for us, got his first high school start last night against Bedford. So we're going to go back to recruiting for you when September 1st hit of 2020. Was it 22 for you?
Yes.
Right. So you've been committed for a while. So it was like, wow. I remember some of the schools. There was ACC, there was Louisville in the mix, there was Davidson in the mix. Ultimately, you made your visits. You chose Bucknell. Tell us a little bit about the process, how you got to be so highly recruited, and then why Bucknell stood out over the other ones. And then we also have Maddie Kiley, who's a junior at Bedford, that's going to be following Cam to Bucknell.
Yeah.
Nice.
So before I went to Bishop Girton, I was actually an attacker. But when I went to Bishop Girton, I transferred to midfield, which I was able to showcase my speed more, and it helped me a lot during recruiting. So when September 1st came around, it was really exciting. I was really interested in the Patriot League schools because I wanted a Division I school, but I also wanted high academics. So I knew about Bucknell because my coach Leslie Y went there and played there. So I heard a lot of great things about it. And I had my visit and I immediately felt like it was the perfect fit for me. I had a few other visits, but Bucknell felt the best for me. I met the coaches, I loved them, and I met the team and loved them too. So um, when I had a couple of offers, I was still waiting on Bucknell, but when they finally came through with the offer, I was really excited and accepted it.
Mm. I've always
Great. I
heard
think it's
good things about Bucknell. What was the campus like? I mean, that must have jumped out, right?
Yeah, the campus is really beautiful. It's a small school, but that's what I really wanted. And the fields are really nice. And yeah, it was just a beautiful school. I loved it the second I stepped on campus.
Sorry, Coach, didn't mean to cut you off.
So Cam, there's been some great leaders before you at BG. You had Lindsay Holt in 21, Riley Bouvier in 22, Tess Prunier 23. What did you learn from them as far as leadership, and whose style are you more like?
I learned a lot from all of the leaders. And now being in a leadership role myself, I hope that I can step up and be a good mentor for the other people on my team. Um, I wasn't at Bishop Girton when Lindsay was a captain, but I was when Riley was here. And I think I learned a lot from her work ethic. She always puts 100% into everything. So I really want to do the same as her.
Any idea what you want to study yet, or is it too early?
Right now I'm studying economics, but we'll see what happens with that. I want to do something around business, but we'll see.
All right, final question. How are the routines, the practices different during vacation week versus a regular week? How's that prep different?
Yeah, I'd say it's just the time. Like we're practicing earlier now over break, but we're really focusing on things that we need to work on. For example, like from the Notre Dame game, we're going to focus on our defense and our draws in the circle. So yeah, just using our losses as a way to help us build so we can be better for the playoffs.
Good luck the rest of the way for sure. Thank you for coming on. And good luck next year at Bucknell as well. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having
Thanks,
me.
Thank you. That's Cameron Schmidt, well-spoken, media trained, and obviously, Coach has a bright future ahead of herself, both on and off the field.
Yeah, economics major at Bucknell. She knows what she wants to do, and yeah, she had some great options, and so she made that transition from attack to midfield. She hit it spot on. She's just she's an athlete. She can run all day, and that's what Bucknell and some of the other ACC schools liked about her, was just her speed. And leadership is key. She's you have some rah leaders. She's a leader. She's not like a real loud, but she's a leader by example, which is great. This is a young team, and they need that around especially in Coach Callie's first year. It's important.
All right, we'll take a break. On the other side, 3 Exeter seniors are going to join us. Of course, Ethan Burnich, Owen Williams, and Tanner Smith, chomping at the bit to jump on. We're looking forward to it. Second half hour. On the other side, you are watching FNL Lacrosse, presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school, varsity, and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. So become another lacrosse program like Bedford, Goffstown, or Memorial that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today.
It's FNL Lacrosse here on Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. We're presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Nick Anastas, Coach Chris Cameron. Coming up momentarily, Ethan Burnich, Owen Williams, and Tanner Smith, 3 seniors from Exeter, fresh off the field. And at about 6:45 Eastern, Drew Bordeau returns to the show. The second-year Bedford head coach had the Bulldogs close last night against Bishop Girton. We are back on the air next Wednesday with our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire Game of the Week. It'll be Pinkerton at Londonderry. Always fun when those 2 neighboring schools get together. We're on the air at 6 coming up again on Wednesday. So normally that's the time slot for this show. We're going to move that to the following night, Thursday, May the 2nd. So a little scheduling note as we welcome or get set to welcome in the Exeter players. Coach, what can you tell me about these three guys? You touched on it a little bit earlier when we recapped the game against Portsmouth, but in particular, at this point, they're practically household names, at least in lacrosse circles. Burnich has been between the pipes for a long time, a lot of experience, a lot of playoff experience. And Owen Williams seems like he makes big plays at big times for them. And, of course, Tanner Smith is going to stay local next year and come to St. A's on the defensive end. What can you say about these three before we join them momentarily?
I think they are great, not just leaders, but role models for the Exeter program and for the state of New Hampshire. I mean, they do everything the right way. Hardworking. And as you mentioned, Burnich has been around forever. I mean, he in 2021 where we played them, he was a freshman. We played them early. He started, and then he was, that was the year we played them in the state championship at Bedford. And then Owen and Tanner didn't have much of a role on that team because that was a loaded Exeter team. That was Coach Holly's last year. And they were loaded. Then that team in 22 was Adam Ray. There was just a lot of great leaders. And this team this year reminds me of that 22 team, a team that was very focused and committed, where they're on a mission right now. You could just feel it. Today was a setback, but they just seem like they're a team that is doing everything right. They worked hard in the offseason to get ready to have a special year, and they're having it, and they're certainly in that mix. They're as close that they've ever been in my time at BG.
All right,
and
let's bring them in.
Yep.
Ethan Burnich,
bring him in.
Owen Williams, Tanner Smith, live, I believe, from Exeter High School. Gentlemen, good evening. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Good. How are you?
All right, we're going to go left to right from my vantage point, and I'm not quite sure who's who. We'll get to today's game in just a moment, but I want to start with the off season. And I like asking this because I seemingly get pretty much the same answer team to team, but there's always something different, something unique. What was unique about the off season, getting ready for the upcoming campaign within the Exeter program?
Before coming in, we had a lot of interest in the program. A lot of kids coming in wanting to play. A lot of people coming in for sessions, clinics, shootings, bringing people out to fields to go play, captains practices. We would get a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, I feel like guys just really cared. We kind of set a goal early in the summer to be the best team we could by the spring. And I feel like guys were really locked in on that. Even during football season and during the summer when guys are doing their own stuff, recruiting tournaments and stuff like that, guys really made it a priority to show up as much as they could.
It was really self-driven. I think that was our big thing. We're not dragging guys out to the field. They're the ones asking us, where usually it's the other way around. And that's kind of when I got the feeling we had something going this year.
Coach Brewster seems like a player's coach for sure. Let's reverse the order this time and go right to left.
So it's Ethan, Tanner, Owen.
Okay, let's start then with Ethan. What is exactly the I guess your relationship with Coach? He's one of the younger coaches. He's got plenty of experience, as we know, but he's still on the younger end of the scale, which I'd imagine has its advantages. But in your own words, what's Coach meant to you guys collectively and individually?
We definitely have a great relationship. The first year when he came in, our sophomore year, that was the first year all three of us had and it wasn't just us. It wasn't just us kind of moving in with the new coach. We were kind of moving in together, and I thought that was kind of started our relationship off strong.
Yeah, I feel like we're the guys who've been with him so far throughout his career, and just developing we've developed really close relationships with him, especially Coach Tewksbury and Coach G as well. Coach G being our defensive guy, and Coach Tukes floats around, but he does a lot of defense too. Kind of like they're both also young guys, and they keep the energy high. I mean, they're all pretty much fresh out of playing college lacrosse, so it's really awesome to see like the experience that they bring, and just like they're really relatable to us in ways like that, like that you can be to an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I think our coaches are very good. Coach Brewster does a great job filtering our offense and figuring out who we want on our field and stuff like that. But he's also a great coach off the field. He understands his players. He likes to be in touch with us. He likes to figure out what we're doing. Even off season too, he would reach out multiple times, figure out what's going on, just trying to keep in touch, figure out what's happening. And that goes with all coaches too. Like Tanner said, Coach G and Coach Tukes are some of the best coaches I've ever had and some of the nicest guys ever.
All right, let's bring up the sore subject of a loss. And I know you guys aren't used to losing by any means. A rare loss to Portsmouth today, your first of the season after that 5-0 start. How do you spin it as a positive in the locker room?
Yeah, I thought like one of the big positives was Will McElroy played a great game. I mean, Nick Smith, obviously dominant in D2, and a guy that I've had the pleasure of playing with. He's a really great athlete, really great fogo. So to see Will come out there and really battle against him gives us faith that, as we see a lot of these better fogos down the road, Acton Boxborough, Bishop Girton, Bedford, like he'll be ready to get in the mix and battle and win us possession when we really need it. I think that's the biggest positive I took out of the game today.
Yeah, I thought it was a really high-level game, and there was good energy, good skill. I mean, two great teams going at it. And I'm sure you guys are ready to bounce back on Friday. So, Nick, can I touch? So each of you had a different experience with recruiting. So we'll go real quick, each person. But so Tanner, you suffered an injury where you couldn't play like the big summer for you. Ultimately, you wound up in a great spot. Ethan, you were, in the mix with so many D1s. In the end, you wound up choosing a great school, great program over some D1s. And then Owen, I remember talking to you at Delaware, and you weren't sure if you wanted to make the Jacksonville visit. And I was strongly encouraged it. And then I think you visited, and you could tell us a little bit how that went. So each of you could just go real quick on how your process went and how you ultimately, with all the great options you guys had, made the decisions that you did.
Yeah. I think after our conversation and talking to you about it, Jacksonville became a bigger option for me. But Tomahawks introduced me and had opened so many doorways that allowed me to get a great recruiting experience. So with the help of Coach Cam and his mentor, I was able to take that step and go visit the school. And after that, in his mentorship, I understood that Jacksonville was the right school for me, and it seemed like the right place.
And then Tanner, I was at the semifinal game when you guys played Pinkerton, and I was talking with your mom, and I introduced your mom to Coach Scamana, and he's like, "Oh, I came here to watch your son," and it was kind of just, and he learned that you were not going to be playing, but so take us a little bit how that all worked out.
Yeah, St. A's definitely came in like right at the perfect time. I was definitely feeling pretty down and really nervous about what was going to go on with recruiting. I'd kind of like dismissed the offers that I had that I didn't want. And then a lot of the schools that I was talking to had said, they wanted to see me throughout the summer. And, nerves were high. I was feeling the pressure for sure. I didn't know whether I was going to have to do a year of prep school or whatever. But ultimately, they came in at the perfect time, and, it's perfect fit for me. I really love the coaching staff and all of that. So, it's all kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, they are very excited to get you. And they're having a great season this year. They just knocked off Pace yesterday. So they're excited for you to get in the mix. And, Ethan, I've been doing this a long time, but I don't remember a goalie having a summer that you had this summer. It was incredible. I mean, the amount of saves that you made, like like the year before, 24 Purple lost, I think, like 9 games by a goal or 2. And then this summer, I mean, you guys got over that hump and you just beat top 10 nationally ranked teams, and a lot of that was your performance. I mean, you just kept doing it game after game, tournament after tournament, and then you wound up at RIT. So tell us about it.
Well, I really appreciate it. Coach Kuhn reached out to me pretty early in the recruiting process. I think the winter of my junior year for D3. So he kind of helped me out throughout the whole process, not just with RIT, just with other schools and like teaching me what to look for, stuff like that. And my parents, I mean, once I met Coach Kuhn, they were pretty much sold. And then the end of the summer, I kind of pulled the trigger after August 1st.
Yeah.
Engineering
great fits for all
is
you.
that? Yeah. Stick with Ethan for a minute. Is that? I know RIT is an excellent school. What will you be studying there?
I'm studying econ, but I'm doing 1 or 2 minors, either in analytics or software engineering.
There you go. And then Owen, I'm sure that Florida sunshine may have had something to do with that decision, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I love the heat, love the beach, so it'll be awesome.
And St. Anselm, by the way, wrapped up the number 2 seed in the upcoming Northeast 10 tournament.
Yeah.
So they're going to be good for a while, and that's a good fit for you, Tanner, as well. All right, guys, one final question here. What's it going to take to get back to the championship round and then bring home the bacon, which I'm sure is the ultimate goal? Let's start again with Owen.
I would say perseverance. Some things aren't going to go our way, but that's just how it is. That's lacrosse. We just got to bounce back, stay with our game, stay focused, and see that end goal through and through. So,
Yeah, I think it's really important to just remember that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I think as long as we stick to our systems and play as a team and really believe that like we are that team, that high level team that's going to be able to compete and hopefully win a state championship. So just remind ourselves that we're like that and like we can do it.
I'd say confidence. If I describe it in one word, I think we definitely have the ability to do it. We just got to believe that we can. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Best of luck, guys. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very
for
much.
having us.
Thank you. Well, there you go. 3 promising young men right there. The seniors, Ethan Burnich, Owen Williams, and Tanner Schmidt. Joining us, Coach, just an hour or so after a tough loss against Portsmouth.
Yes.
That's a couple of bonus points for them for facing the music, for sure. They're doing a great
Sullivan's
job.
Island. I'd like to find out what Sullivan's Island is.
I saw
Have
that.
you heard of that?
No. I saw that. I assume that's somewhere in Bilbao Stadium, right?
Or it could be someone's house. I'm thinking it's someone's house.
Well,
We'll find out. We will get the answer by the end of the show. But you can just see very high character kids that each of them loves lacrosse. They're like they love to play lacrosse. You have very different personalities. They like Tanner could talk all day. I mean, he's a talker. Owen's very quiet. Ethan's very quiet, but you can see how well spoken they are. And they're going to go on to do great things. And they are very, very good this year. And led by those 3. And they're going to need to develop some depth around them, but they are very good defensively. And Owen is very much like Brady Dumont for us. He is going to get all the attention of everybody's defense. He's going to get the top defender. The teams are going to shade towards him. And he's just a very, very silky smooth lefty that you think of him as a lefty. And I look back to him last year. He drilled a righty shot from 15 yards out. Maybe it was like 17 yards against Pinkerton to, I think, tie that game. That was a great semifinal last year. He's just he's a player that Jacksonville, Coach Galloway is very excited about having on campus.
Yeah. Final guest is ready to go. And let's bring him in. Drew Bordeau, Bedford's second year head coach. Coach, how are you? Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Love being on this show. Huge fan.
It was a pleasure to watch that game last night. One of the more dramatic games I've seen in a few years at this point, especially for a regular season affair in April. What was your message to your club after coming so close in double overtime but falling 13-12? What'd you say to the kids?
I was just super proud of their efforts, especially being down 2 separate times, being down 5 goals, clawing back, seeing the fight in them. And then we know that if you want to be the number one team in the state, you want to be the team that's holding the trophy up on June 8th, you got to play Bishop Girton twice. And so the message was fantastic game, but we got to beat them once. And so a lot to build on, a lot of positives and some negatives that we can build on. But the message was we just got to beat them once. Just got to beat them once.
I'm sure there were plenty of good things that you saw last night from your club. Coach said it came down to a few winning plays for Bishop Girton, but you got to be proud of the way your guys battled back, as you just mentioned, down 5 a couple of different times. What else did you see that you think you can build on moving forward?
I think just using our athletes in space, guys like Brody Heldon, Bennett Matthews, Kevin Sheridan, Tristan Kerr, tried to get those guys into spots where we could show their athleticism and utilize their athleticism. So putting those guys in situations that's going to help us defensively in the ride, help create offense in transition. Anything we can do to get those guys in space is going to help us out.
How about your sophomore goaltender? He stood tall at times last night.
Sure did. And I'll say about him too, he just had an incredible offseason. I think the last goal that went in against Merrimack in the quarterfinal really sat with him. He had a fantastic summer, fantastic fall. And honestly, he'll be the first one to say it. He didn't have his best first half, and super awesome to see him not hang his head after that first half. And he had a fantastic second half. So we were super proud of him. And he's been exceptional helping us in our clearing game, which was something that we really needed him to work on in the offseason. He's been great so far. Literally the first clear against Concord, we had a wide open clear to Bennett Matthews, and he may have taken it the whole way. And Ethan Kahn sailed it into the stands, and then he looked at me and said, like, all right, I'm good. And since then, he's been awesome. So awesome to see that kid's growth for sure.
And Coach, it looks like you were having some fun at times last night, animated up and down that sideline, providing some energy. I assume the mission there. But how fun has it been so far here in year number 2, just 3 weeks in?
It's been just a blast. This is, since I was in the 8th grade, this has been my dream to be a head lacrosse coach. And I think the best thing about last night is my goal for myself this year was to stay more even keel on the sidelines, because when I start to ride the roller coaster, I can start to lose my focus. And my wife, when I got home, said, well, you made it 3 quarters. Which that was, so baby steps here. By the end of the season, I'll get all 4 quarters. I learned a lot from Frank Moreno of the boys basketball program, watching that guy get the student section hyped up during the basketball games. I channeled my inner him, and my dad was right there when I called that timeout when Kevin Sheridan picked up a ground ball and had like five BG defenders on him. So I just pointed right at my dad. He was getting me going. So that's what kind of struck that.
It's good stuff, Coach.
Drew, thanks for coming on. It was fun last night. It was a great game. As I said after the game, you guys played what you guys certainly deserved. You played well enough to win, and I think this program is in great hands going forward with you at the helm. So you have that. So you had the sneaker look going on last night. Sharp look. You got that from your wife, Clary. And then I was on Twitter trying to find the score of your game today, because they had to bounce back and go to Dover. And then just kind of your sense of humor with the picture with Luke and Dom. How did that take place? That, so yeah, tell us a little bit about that picture that you put out.
Yeah. So it was awesome for Dom Chalafour. He broke the state save record. That guy is just an animal, brick wall. But the Dover parents were incredible. I think they made literally 700 cupcakes. And so after the game, they came flying over to our bench and were like, we need you to eat these cupcakes. And then I don't know how the conversation started, but Dom started walking off the field, and someone said, like, who was the one that gave him the record-breaking save? And everyone was like, it was Luke Purnell. And so I yelled over to Dom and said, Dom, get a picture with Luke so we can have this moment together. It was awesome, those two. Luke was a great sport about it, and Dom was loving it too. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
what was the final, Coach?
You got it.
It was 19-6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Solid,
that's a
man.
tough after a double. I mean, I didn't play last night, and I felt tired today after that double overtime game. I can't imagine the kids having to get on that bus and play, and but you always get the best out of those guys. So so we had the Exeter guys on, as you know all those guys pretty well. I think you know pretty much everyone in the state. You seem to know a lot of what we were doing last night before it even happened. So you give it your all, and sorry, it's Coach Hetler calling in, trying to get the little. Did you see, Drew? We had the Portsmouth Exeter game was a very good game to watch. And
I didn't get the chance to watch, but I saw Twitter. I saw Joe's updates on Twitter.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting season this year, and I put a little pressure on you. I think that you got the 1 seed. Like, you guys are kind of in that driver's seat. So tell us a little bit about your out-of-state schedule this year and how you kind of like your relationships that you use to set those up.
Yeah, so honestly, Coach, talking with you, it almost seems like kind of a similar pattern. I think that when Coach Gerard was the head coach here, it was a thing that Bedford did, and there was a lot of schools that wanted to play us, and we were able to get games easily. And then what I've found is that because of some of the success that we weren't having the past couple of years, the program kind of wasn't getting as much recognition in Massachusetts. And so I reached out to probably 20 schools, and I couldn't really get anyone to get us in for a game. And I reached out super early. Coach Gaudreau at Pinkerton helped me out a lot with some of these out-of-state games. But Marblehead, that's the school that I taught at. That was my first job out of college. And so I've coached with Coach Wilkins before, and he's always big on playing out-of-state games. So I was able to get that one. And then North Andover, that was my first coaching job out of college as well. And so Steve Zella was kind enough to set that up, and that one's not too far of a drive either. It's right off 93, which is great. And then Lexington, that coach, we have played them in the past, and so he was familiar with us, and he was kind enough to come up to us this year during their spring break. And then Westford Academy was a Coach Coburn hookup there. Scott Cochran, who has beat me numerous times when he was at Merrimack and I was at St. A's. Eric got us connected, and so we were able to get that game. So the guys are really excited about it. It's something that a lot of them wanted. Seeing the games that BG plays and Exeter plays and Pinkerton plays, we felt like we wanted to be a part of that, and it was only going to make us better. And the guys get really excited for those out-of-state games. And so we were just happy that we could get some of those games. And I told them the message before Lexington was, make this so that there's teams out there that are starting to say, like, hey, maybe we should get Bedford on the schedule, like whether it's Acton Boxbar or Lincoln Sudbury, some of those schools that hopefully we can attract them and start playing some of those high level teams in Massachusetts.
Yeah, you're not going to have a problem getting any of those teams to play you after the season you're having this year. So Coach Wilkins and I, 1985, we competed in the Long Island Championship. He got me 8-6. So say hello to him. I haven't seen him in a while. We played a little bit together on the Blazers, but yeah, I remember that game like it was yesterday. So it was a great player and went to Hopkins. He's a great coach too.
Yeah, he is a great guy.
Coach, final question. Assess your alma mater's chances coming up. St. Anselm, the number 2 seed in the Northeast 10 tournament.
Yeah, this is the year for him. One really cool thing, I mentioned that my first job out of college was coaching at North Andover. One of their fifth-year seniors who's been 3-time All-American, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Ryan Slattery. This is his fifth year. And so he came back. And this is the year they're going to do it with Coach Coburn at the defensive coordinator role. They're really hitting their stride on the faceoff X. I think that their guy maybe lost one faceoff the other day against Adelphi. And similar to what I was saying at the start, when I texted Coach Coburn, him and I are very close. I texted him after the Adelphi game, and he said, we're going to play him 3 times, and we just have to beat him when it matters. And so they are feeling great offensively. They are right in the spot that they want to be. And Coach Shimana that guy's my hero. He's someone that I've learned a lot from. And so they're really special this year. And I think they can definitely win the NE10. I think they can win the whole thing as well in Division II.
Good stuff tonight. Congratulations on the bounce back win today over Dover, and good luck moving forward. And we'll catch up again soon. Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Drew Bordeau.
Thanks, Drew.
Having fun, right? Living the dream. He said it himself. Since 8th grade, he wanted to coach. And not only is he coaching, he's coaching a very good group, a very promising group with Bedford.
Oh yeah, I mean they're legit. We knew that going in. That loss, that it was a big upset loss to Merrimack last year, and you could just see that they haven't forgotten that. They're playing with an edge this year. And it was interesting. Coach B. Bordeaux said that he likes to get his athletes in space. That's a kind of a term you hear on the football field a lot. But that's what they do. They have athletes all over the field. And then he does a great job of using them, playing to their strengths. So, yep, I'm sure we're going to see them in June, but they have an exciting season ahead of them, and they're going to get better. And they're going to have fun doing it too.
Coach, what are you watching for this week coming up?
This week, we got a big one at Exeter.
Is next Wednesday. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes. So we have Exeter. I hate to reference the COVID, but in the COVID, you would play these like wacky 2-game sets where you'd play 2 teams in a row, like in 2 days. But it's kind of like that with Exeter. We play them. So Coach Ball I'm very appreciative of him scheduling us twice, because there's 12 teams, so you have 11 games, so you have to pick up that 12th game, and it's not easy to get someone to play us that extra time. So certainly very appreciative. So sometimes fitting that game in, you have to do it wherever the schedule fits. So we play them on back-to-back Fridays. We play at Exeter on Friday, and then we play the week after. So we're looking forward to that. For us, it's been a run where we had St. John's Prep, we had Staples, we got Bedford, we got Exeter. And I'm going to watch a lot of those out-of-state games. I think we talked earlier in the program. We kind of know who the top 5 teams are. Exeter, and then moving to the broadcast on Wednesday. Is it at Pinkerton or is it at Londonderry?
It's at Londonderry.
It's at Londonderry. So you're going to be playing on grass. Coach Weeds is, they're not deep, but he's able to get the most out of that team, and it should be a tight, home game for Londonderry should be a good game. So we'll see how that game goes. Those guys could be fighting for that 4 seed. And then on the girls' side, it was great having Cam Schmidt on, and she talked a little bit about how, her leadership role at BG, because BG's not as talented. They're not as deep as they were, but they do have some young players coming up, and that's going to be important for them going forward. But the girls' Division I is just going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to that Bedford BG game coming up, and then hopefully we get Pinkerton on, because they're another team that's in the mix that everyone would probably love to see how good they are, going forward. So it's an exciting season. We're right in it seems like after we're 5 games in. After next week, we'll have played 9 games, and the season's halfway done. And it takes a while to get going, but once it does, it just flies by.
Yeah, it seems like a lot has already happened, for sure, on both sides. So it's been an exciting start to 2024. Want to thank the sponsors tonight. Of course, our presenting sponsor, the New Hampshire Tomahawks. Visit nhtomahawks.com and also girls.nhtomahawks.com. Of course, MG Sports, Mike and his staff over there, MG Sports Fundraising, mgsportsfundraising.com. And, of course, Beals Insurance. Check out bealsinsurance.com. Want to thank the guests, Cameron Schmidt, BG Senior on her way to Bucknell, the trio from Exeter, Ethan Burnich, Owen Williams, and Tanner Smith. We wish them luck this week as well. And, of course, Drew Bordeau, the second-year head coach from Bedford. We're back on the air next Wednesday with our Game of the Week, Pinkerton at Londonderry. And it's a 6 o'clock start on Wednesday as we bring in the month of May with a longtime rivalry. This show will air next Thursday at 6 o'clock, May the 2nd. And we'll have another jam-packed hour for you then. For my co-host, Chris Cameron, our director, the man behind the curtain, Ben Beals, and executive producer, Steve Beals. My name is Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been FNL Lacrosse, presented by the New Hampshire Tomahawks.